Welcome to a mini episode of Am Interchange. I'm Tate Chamberlain, and we have an upcoming dialogue and debate on human migration and displacement. With that, we'll be producing a series of mini episodes that feature the backstory of our guests for our upcoming events. For this episode, I interviewed Ken Johnson with the Sons of Odin. The group was established as a response to thousands of asylum seekers arriving amid the European migrant crisis. I have to admit, I empathize a little with their origin. Imagine being in a small community that has accepted a substantial number of refugees and asylum seekers. It changes the cultural dynamic drastically within a short period of time. The binary choice of good and evil are laid out very clearly in our entertainment. Star Wars, for example. Darth Vader wears black, Princess Leia wears white. It's very clear whom you should cheer for. When the real-life discussions of cultural heritage and immigration meet the lines and begin to blur as we discover in our latest podcast. Hey, Ken.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm well.
So we're talking about the topics human migration and displacement. So what makes you so passionate and active about it?
I'm the guy who's always going to want to deal with your family first, your community first, start with your neighborhood, then your city, then your state. So I'm the guy who cares about the veterans. I'm the guy who wants to see the kids fed. I'm the guy who doesn't want my taxes raised so that I can have the American dream. I'm the guy who knows that you don't complain about Walmart, you grow a garden. I think we've lost control in a few areas of our federal, state, and local governments. I think the corporation control to take over the common sense and like create weird legislation on laws and I think while people who do crimes need to be punished, I also think that our justice system is starting to get a little scary, and at some point I actually consider myself a bit of a political prisoner. But those are just little things that kind of started opening my eyes. They're not even the whole problem. I mean, privatized prisons, judges and prosecuting attorneys being on the panels of these things, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a conflict of interest to be invested into something like that when you're the one putting people here.
Yeah.
You know, that's a terrifying sort of legal thing that I think we should deal with right off the bat that just seems to continuously get ignored. At the same time, don't get me wrong, I love America. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I think we have some catching up to do with certain things. I'm not a big socialist, but I think that if the world's going to be as overpopulated as it is, and to make the most of every citizen, maybe healthcare and education, which is something some of my constituents would lose their mind on, being hardcore Republicans, but I believe in those things. Like, if we're going to pay taxes the way we do, then let's get the education to everyone, and let's get the health care to everyone.
So, with the Sons of Odin and, how do you pronounce the other one?
Oh, the Wolfhäfner.
Talk about those. I mean, there's...
So the Montana Wolfhäfner is going to be locally based, kind of people who grew up here, hunted here, fished here. That's a smaller group. A lot of people in the state, not just in Bozeman. There's a much larger group in Bozeman, and it's not a gang. It's not a club. It's not a criminal organization. It's a community action group. We actually talk about guerrilla gardening, which might be a crime. If you want to arrest me for gardening in an empty lot, go for it. But we talk about how do we make our lives more self-sufficient, reduce our footprint, be involved in the community religiously, because we are a pagan group, and politically when necessary.
I think that some people could describe the groups as alt-right. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I don't think the Montana Wolfhäfner should be described with the Sons of Odin.
Okay. What are the main differences?
So the Montana Wolfhäfner is really about finding the religion of your ancestors and then existing within your community. I wish I would have written down the name of that German guy who wrote that book about, what does it mean to be a pagan? And it's just about like, small communities, worshiping and working together. We're probably more closer to hippies,
Okay.
than the alt-right guys.
Even the Sons of Odin?
No, the Sons of Odin are politically motivated group. The funny thing about the Sons of Odin is they've picked one topic, the current topic of Islamic, not Mexican immigration into America, or San Salvadorans or Guatemalans, or any of Cubans, whatever. Or they haven't picked whatever immigration issues are coming out of whatever other part of the world. We're just currently dealing with what they feel is the largest topic right now globally.
So what's your beef with Sharia law?
Sharia law. Well, I really don't care if it stayed in its own communities, but when you come to America, we have a constitution and a set of laws already where, America is a melting pot. And so we have a beautiful culture here already. And so I feel like Sharia law comes in to destroy all of those.
Do you think that actually happened? I don't
know. I don't know.
Would the Constitution really ever allow that in a courtroom?
Not at all. That's ridiculous. I just wonder why we cater so much to a group of people that normally we would be like, that's not the way it works here. Well, I guess my problem is I don't understand the motivation of even allowing it to exist here when we already have a current set of laws. So you're absolutely right. I think some of this is ridiculous. We're not going to let something like that happen, but we have allowed it to happen just enough that in, Minneapolis, we have Somali neighborhoods where people can't go, and we've allowed it to happen just enough that in large Arab communities, it's kind of weird to be a white lady walking through there, and we've allowed it to happen just enough that it's an issue. And you have the large immigration issues of the countries like Sweden and England and France that have allowed people to come in there out of the goodness of their heart, and it's really kind of backfired on them in a lot of strange ways. Now, does that mean every one of those people is bad? Of course not.
Say this was your town. How would you enforce immigration?
The same way we have laws already on the books. I wouldn't make exceptions. I wouldn't make exceptions that harm the community is what I wouldn't do. I love the idea of sanctuary cities. That's great, man. That's beautiful and utopian. And guess what? America has its own problems, man. Sometimes that stuff doesn't work. And I would want to figure out before I just opened up a town that works and is beautiful and has a culture already, right? And how many do we bring in? I've read about cases where they had a town in Europe, I want to say it was in Sweden, where they had 900 people in this small town, and they opened up their town as a community, but they brought in 400 immigrants, and that was half of their population already. It destroyed that community.
So is it possible to maintain compassion and security at the same time?
Yes, but to degrees.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. How many do you bring in? How much compassion do you have before you've lost compassion for the people that you should have been looking out for in the first place, which is the sanctuary city people. Is this good for us? We want to help people, but at the cost of my own destruction? That's really kind of absurd, and I'm not sure why it can't be done in a more common sense way. I'm not trying to be heartless. I think everyone has a right to exist where they are, but once you start moving to where other people are, now you're talking about coexistence. Clashes of cultures, religions, backgrounds.
Can humanity handle that?
I think it has shown in America that we've done a good job, but the template is broken now. You know what I mean? I think it's changed.
The metrics of how many people and all of that. We're just kind of out of funk.
Trickling immigration under legal things, we have some idea to plan for. And like, for instance, Reagan and Bush both had the same theory. People said, why are we allowing Mexican children to go to public schools when we know they're not paying taxes? And they both said the same thing, because we would rather spend money on their education than on law enforcement and incarceration later for not taking care of them. And that makes sense to me.
Is it racist to love your own race?
No. That's part of self-preservation instinct. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah. Do you think, what about...
That's Marxist bullshit, is what that is.
Okay. That it's not okay?
That it's not okay. Been taught to believe that.
So how do you feel? Say Muslim refugees come into the States and start procreating and building families with white people.
I personally, and I know this is a hot topic, I personally don't agree with it. I don't agree with any of it, though. And I have, but that being said, I'm not the kind of monster that doesn't have a nephew or a niece that I don't love that isn't white. So, it's not that. It's just my own personal belief is.
What makes a hate group a hate group?
Well, hate makes a hate group a hate group. You know what I mean?
Yeah, is the Sons of Odin...
They separated from the soldiers of Odin because they didn't want to be identified as a hate group. They wanted to address political concern without being identified as the soldiers.
Yeah, but the Sons of Odin website is still pretty...
It is, isn't it?
It's pretty polarizing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and you're going to have a lot of different members and a lot of different voices in something so large.
So it just, does it create a space for people to just...
hate and intolerance? Actually, the leaders really, on the Sons pages, kibosh that right away.
Okay.
They get on there and they're like, listen, don't represent us with hatred. Don't do that. We've come a long way. We're trying to address political topics. I want you all to know, there's been a post lately that said, I want you all to know that I don't approve of it. You can believe what you want on your own page. You can still be a part of us, but don't come to our page and get off topic, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's the agenda. We want to address immigration and the destruction of culture and city and lives and how to better figure this out. And that's what they're here for. If you're saying the Sons of Odin and not addressing the members themselves, then yes, you cannot say the Sons of Odin. Sons of Odin as a group are not a hate group. And the leaders specifically were moving away from the soldiers of Odin because of that label. It's specifically created to separate themselves from the soldiers and still address immigration concerns.
No matter how you feel about the topic, we encourage you to listen harder when you disagree, and stay tuned for our upcoming dialogue and debate on human migration and displacement. You can find more information at iaminterchange.org. That's iaminterchange.org. This episode was produced by Tyson Lunn, Chris Griffin, and Tate Chamberlain.